All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to deconstruct a really fascinating and honestly pretty complex worldview that comes from a 1980 speech by Reverend Sun Myung Moon. What's so interesting is how it lays out this unique diagnosis for what's wrong with the world, and then offers this incredibly radical prescription for how to fix it all.
You know, it all kicks off with a question that I think we've all asked ourselves at some point. Have you ever just looked around and felt like the world is completely disconnected from any kind of ideal? Like, with all the conflict, all the competition, we've just lost the plot? Well, that exact feeling is the jumping off point for this whole way of thinking.
Okay, so first things first, the diagnosis. The speech really starts by painting this picture of a world that isn't just a little off track, but is fundamentally broken. A world that's lost its ideals. And to really get this idea across, there's this powerful metaphor. Think about it like this. The world isn't just a little bit out of tune. No, it's like a radio that's had its most essential part, the receiver, completely smashed. It might look perfectly fine from the outside, but it's just dead. It can't pick up the signal it was built for anymore.
And when you have that kind of core breakage, you start seeing the symptoms everywhere. According to this worldview, we're living in a reality where selfishness is just normal, where profit is way more important than people, and where the biggest tools we have, money, power, knowledge, they're all just weapons for competition, not tools for unity. And the end result? This deep, nagging feeling that any kind of real ideal is just impossible to reach. So, if everything's broken, what do you do? Where do you even start looking for answers? Well, this next part is all about that search for hope, and, as we'll see, the trail of disappointment that so often comes with it. And the search itself seems pretty logical, right? First, you go to the smartest people, to academia, the big-name universities. But the speech says, nope, no real answers about life there. Okay, so then you look at society, maybe the most successful, prosperous countries. But what you find is that they're standing on very shaky ground. So, as a last resort, you turn to religion. You're hoping for something pure, something real, only to find that it has just as many problems as the rest of society. It's a dead end at every turn.
And you can imagine what this does to you, right? It just creates this crushing sense of despair. Your search for meaning isn't bringing you closer to anything, it's just making you sadder. It's this awful paradox. The harder you look for the ideal, the farther away it feels.
So you hit rock bottom, total disappointment. And it's right at that point that the whole narrative pivots. It introduces something completely different, a radically different path. Now here's the twist. The speaker doesn't say, hey, I'm above all this. Not at all. In fact, he claims to be the ultimate embodiment of this problem. He says he's experienced the deepest disappointment possible, and because of that, he can represent everyone who's given up hope. It's like he's saying, I've been to the bottom, and from that place, we can start something new.
So why? Why is the world so broken in the first place? Well, this is where a core theological idea comes in, the fall. The argument is that human history basically started upside down. It began on the wrong foot from the very beginning. But here's the hopeful part. Knowing the cause is everything, right? If you know what broke the radio, then suddenly you have a chance to actually fix it. And this new path, wow, it's not just a small change. We're talking a complete 180 from normal life. You don't work 8 hours a day, you work 24. You don't get a salary, you get nothing. You don't own a home, you own nothing. Your whole purpose is to raise funds to support the church. It is a total, absolute inversion of what we think of as worldly values.
Yeah, as you can imagine, walking this path comes with a huge price. And this whole demanding process is framed under one key idea: restoration.
The steps themselves are intense. Let's break it down. Number 1, fundraising. But it's not just about money, you see. It's framed as gathering the materials needed to literally recreate mankind. Then there's witnessing. This isn't just sharing your beliefs. It's about going out and facing opposition, because that struggle is what purifies you. And finally, suffering. This is a big one. It's not something you run away from. In fact, it's presented as the way you get the best record in this so-called school of restoration.
So why would anyone do all this? Well, all these tough actions fit into this much bigger, grander idea called the dispensation of restoration. The thinking is you're not just starting some new movement. No, you're joining an ancient cosmic project that God has been working on throughout all of history. It totally reframes your personal sacrifice. Suddenly, you're playing a key role in a huge cosmic drama.
And this quote here really gets to the heart of the justification, especially for the fundraising part. The logic is actually pretty straightforward. You can't build a house without bricks and wood. right? Well, in the same way, you can't remake God's man without first gathering the material foundation from the world. It's the necessary first step for this spiritual recreation.
Okay, so after all of that, the struggle, the sacrifice, the 24-hour days, what's it all for? What's the end game? Well, this final section lays out the ultimate vision, the brand new world that this path is supposed to build.
And the goal isn't small. We're talking about creating a completely new world, one built on the idea of a true family, a true society. But according to this speech, none of that can happen without one crucial central element, the linchpin for the whole thing, and that is the concept of true parents.
So what does this new world look like? At its very core is a specific structure called the four-position foundation. Basically, it's the ideal setup for existence: God, man, woman, and children, all in perfect harmony. The whole problem of the fall, remember that, was that Satan got into the center of that structure. The goal of all this restoration work? It's to kick Satan out and rebuild that foundation with God right back in the center, where he's supposed to be.
Get a load of this quote because it's pretty mind-blowing. It takes the personal, everyday actions of the followers and just explodes them onto a cosmic scale. A marriage is no longer just a marriage between two people. No, it's an event of universal importance. The idea is that the entire universe is literally following in your footsteps. I mean, can you imagine? Talk about giving your life a sense of profound epic meaning.
So, at the end of this long, incredibly hard road, what's the reward? What's the ultimate promise? It's pure utopia. A world with no borders, filled with constant joy. A world where the singing and dancing literally never stop. That is the ideal. That's the vision that fuels this entire process. And that really leaves us with a huge question to chew on, doesn't it? When you strip it all down, this whole worldview depends on an absolutely profound belief that radical, total transformation is possible. And it kind of makes you wonder, for any group, for any person, what does it really take to believe that you hold the key, not just to make the world a little better, but to tear it down and completely remake it from scratch?